Good evening, Bermuda, and welcome to the fifth episode of Education Connection. So, as you should know by now, Education Connection is a bi weekly online show that we use to give the public a chance to hear from the Ministry of Education on various topics involving education and provide real time feedback. So, any questions that you have throughout the broadcast, please put them into the chat. We are answering them and we really encourage the participation. Tonight, we are going to be continuing the exciting conversation around education reform. If you've tuned into the last two episodes, you'll know that we've been focusing on the signature learning programs that are going to be introduced in September 2022 at Cedar Bridge and Berkeley. So we have the pleasure to be joined by a member of the Learning First team / innovation unit, Ms. Karen Capel, as well as members of the STEM Signature Learning Program team. It's going to be Beth Hodip, instructional leader at Cedar Bridge Academy, Damika Dublin, instructional leader at the Delwood Middle School, and Dr. Alex Amat, youth program coordinator at the Bermuda Zoological Society. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to the minister so he can give us a warm welcome, and then we'll go right to our guest.
Thank you, Ms. Trott, and welcome to our guests, and welcome to you, Bermuda. You are the most important part of this agenda because we're here to serve you, and we're here to give you information on how the department and the Ministry of Education are moving forward with all things education. But before we get into the specific focus today of the testing and learning of how the signature programs will work, I would just like to remind viewers about the broader education reform agenda. As you would have heard me speak on the throne speech and with the premier's response and my response, that education reform is a priority. It's a major priority for this government. It is not just for the sake of reforming schools, but in fact, it is the ability of our country to thrive that is directly related to the quality of our schooling system. So the goal of our education reform is to enable each and every young person to lead personally and professionally, compete locally, and contribute globally. And you're going to hear that a lot because we say it a lot, and we truly, truly believe that our young people deserve the best. So, in order for us to reach that goal, there are three things that are being worked on simultaneously: moving from a three-tier system to a two-tier system. This is something that the public has been asking for. We've consulted with the public and we have figured out a way to get to where we need to go. Moving from three-tier to two-tier involves phasing out middle schools and introducing the primary schools and signature learning schools. So we'll be going back to a system that most people over in the age of mid-30s and up would remember: a primary school system and then directly into a high school system. We are doing immense work on the creation of an education authority. We want to create an education authority to be established as a non-political body to ensure schools best support young people and reach their full potential. The third piece of the puzzle is Learning First, and we'll find out some more about them as well today. This is the group that is being represented on this call today. Learning First is a program of work that supports schools, parents, and the wider community to design and redesign parts of the education system that need to change in order to make it authentically Bermudian. These changes will be adopted by the parish primary schools and by our signature senior schools over the next 5+ years. And we will inform how the education system operates to ensure that those changes happen. Now let's focus on the signature learning programs and signature schooling. The main idea behind signature schools is to give students the opportunity to spend a significant part of their time following their passions, building on their talents, and developing the skills, knowledge, and relationships needed to achieve the career, further education, or life aspirations. Signature schools will still have the core curriculum that students will be expected to complete. So yeah, you'll still have to go to school. Sorry, kids, you still have to go to school and do your math, your English, your social studies, and the like. But it's expected for them to do this in order to get that foundational knowledge and skills to compete locally and globally. But They will also have access to signature learning programs, who will be selected by the young persons according to their interests and ambitions. The signature learning programs will offer a range of modules in relevant academic subjects, appropriate practical skills training, individual and group projects in real world issues and challenges, internships and meaningful work placements, and last but not least, effective guidance on careers and further education with relevant accreditation. As we have announced on numerous occasions in the past, our signature learning programs will begin at Cedar Bridge Academy and at the Barclay Institute. Cedar Bridge Academy will feature STEM, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, and they will also feature the trades and professions. At the Barclay Institute, we will have health and social care and financial and insurance services. Today, members of the Cedar Bridge Academy School Transformation Team are going to talk to us about the prototypes, an exciting and critically important part of the process that we spoke about in last episode of Education Connection. That is, they are focusing on securing the kind of impactful partnerships that we need in order to bring our signatures to life. We will then open the floor to you, our Bermudian community. We want you to listen. We want you to ask questions, and we also want you to hopefully commit to joining us and getting involved in the process as we move forward. It is critically important that the process that we go through is transparent and as collaborative as we can possibly make it. This is a system we're designing for Bermuda by Bermuda, and who better to give input on how this system should work than Bermudians themselves. So with that, I'll pass it over to you, Karen, to remind our viewers where we are up to in the signature redesign process.
Thank you very much, Minister. It's fantastic to be back with the Education Connection audience again. Over the past month or so, the school transformation teams have been working incredibly hard to develop the new features of the signature learning programs that you talked about. It's this work that has and will be the basis of prototyping, the process by which we test and try to learn as much as we can about how to operationalize the work. Like all good change and transformation programs, we have to move beyond plans on a page. We have to know what our signature learning programs are going to look like, are going to sound like, and really importantly, are going to feel like for Bermuda's young people. And you asked how it was going, or you suggested I should talk about how it's going. And honestly, the answer to that is really well. We have over 180 Bermudians from right across the island that have signed up to participate in 12 different sessions of prototyping this week. They're from really interested parents and community members through to small to medium enterprise business owners, representatives of government, our partner institutions that have come to help us to test and learn about the features of the new signature learning programs. And really importantly, that we've had lots of adults involved in the process this week. Really importantly, we'll be testing out these same features with children and young people next week. We'll be testing them out with M3 students and with our senior school students to understand from their perspective what good would look like for the signature learning programs. And this is on the back of the more than 800 people that participated in the engagement and the consultation program on the signatures themselves. We've got 65 Bermudians that are part of the school transformation teams that are giving up their time to help design and develop the signature learning programs. And I think really excitingly, over 1,000 people receive the Learning First newsletter each month, where we talk about the progress and ask people to get involved. So a small plug for people signing up to that if they can. And we've been so impressed with the level of engagement. It has been fantastic experiential prototypes that have been running, where people have been able to really get a sense of what these signature learning programs might look like in practice. But I won't say too much more because I'll leave that to Damika, to Beth, and to Alex. So we have with us today members of the STEM school transformation team that are representing both Cedar Bridge Academy, who is going to be running the STEM signature learning program next year. But in fact, Damika, Beth, and Alex are representing all of the members of the school transformation teams tonight as they talk about their work. So I'm going to hand over to Beth to kick us off and to describe for us the work that she's been undertaking on behalf of the system.
over this past week on how to build effective signature partnerships within our community. And in that prototype, there's been some key questions that have been driving our work. We have been asking questions like, how might we build these relationships that will design and deliver high quality learning experiences for both school and during the community work placements. We've been looking at how we might provide learners and partner organizations with guidelines that they might need so that we can make sure that these partnerships are mutually beneficial to both the communities, the community companies that are being involved, as well as the students. And how might the schools or businesses come together to help to develop the signature learning programs based on the industry trends or the emerging markets? What do the numbers say in like the Department of Statistics in terms of what kinds of jobs will be available in the future and now? So some of the conversations that we had with our partners this week, we talked about what kind of criteria might we use to help to guide them in terms of establishing these relationships with students so that they can develop their intended career goals. Some of those things might have been making sure that they have a real world project. There might be opportunities for the professionals to engage in maybe teaching a module to some of our students where they might have skills that are different from the actual teachers in their subject areas. We also looked at making sure that that the projects that they provide are going to be, that they will be meaningful to the students and that they're going to provide hands-on experience. That has been like a big thing of this STEM signature school, making sure that students come away from the classroom, but they have the opportunity to be able to engage with their establishment and get their hands, dirty in terms of the real work. And then we also looked at what are some of the principles that we might use to guide some of those partnerships, such as, ensuring that that there's leadership, that there's a strong commitment from those partners, that we engage in collaboration, that there's trust and a shared vision. Our goal is to have a shared responsibility of the student learning process, because education is everyone's business. This week, we were also engaged with businesses, government partners, employers, and community members to work through this together. And one of the things that was really clear was that the community is definitely dedicated to ensuring that these signature learning programs are going to work. Alex?
Thank you, Beth. I think I'll follow you on sharing some of the feedback that we've had so far, having those prototyping and those discussions. And I will first say these were not like formal, interviews and conversations with partners, right? So these were members of the community who wanted to be involved into the co-designing of those sessions, of those partnerships. And so it was not like any kind of formalization yet. It was just like, how can we co-design better? So it's not too late to be involved. And any partners out there, who might be listening to us, like, oh gosh, I missed it. Like, no, you didn't. It's just kind of like helping us to ask those questions to the community better. So we came out with like some role modeling and asking like, okay, so if we were a school asking you, what can you bring us? How should we make that ask? And what they told us back, like the parents and professionals and some teachers who came along told us like, well, we are very excited. We want that learning ecosystem to really be around our students. We really want to make it work, and it was really heartwarming to hear that. But they were also saying like, you guys need to be clear about what the needs are, like what does the school need, what the signature is going to need. Like, just don't throw like a general ask, so the feedback was like, you should approach your partner, have like a pamphlet, a brochure that would explain what you guys are doing. If we're talking to engineers and other scientists, they might know what STEM is, but some other partners might not really know. And we want to get out there and lay it down, like, are we asking for curriculum help? Are we asking for like financial help? And all of the above are possible. So there's going to be different levels of partnerships, but the schools have to be, the signatures have to be very clear on like what the needs are. It also came out that the commitment has to be long-term. So when a partner wants to get with signature, it's not like, oh, I'll give you a year. Like, no, we're not interested. I mean, we'll take the year if it's the only thing we can get, but it would be great to grow that commitment into like a 5-year, a 10-year, because the signature schools will be 5-year long. So if you want to actually be involved with the students and want to see that student grow and see what that students can bring to your business or to your company, you want to be involved, and what came out as well is that it has to be the right size commitment. Like it's not going to be the same partnership between like a small business, a one-person entrepreneur, and a big international company. And I think that what comes out of those like first prototype is like, there is no little commitment. There is no little partner. Like, every partner is going to be important because they're all going to bring different aspects of that life and business and industry to the students. So don't think that you don't have any input if you're a partner and you're listening to us. So we will have progressive levels of like involvement of those partnerships, like it might be, as Beth was saying, like, like being a mentor, providing an internship, or coming to teach a class, or giving some money, whatever that is. And we need to formalize those partnerships really well, because maybe in the past there has been relationships, with schools, and sometimes like it's a personal relationship between like a teacher and a professional, and we want to formalize those, and we need to set time aside. That's one of the big feedback we got. Like, we need to set time aside to sit down with the partners and really laying out, and at the end, shake hands and have a formal, agreement going. So the partners know that for the next 5 or 10 years, they are a big part of what is going to happen in the signature school, and the school can rely on them, and they can also rely on the students, because it's like building maybe their future task force. So what does the partner need? What are the skills that they're looking into young people? Because it's a thing to say, oh, we're not preparing our young people, and when they come out of high school, they don't have the right skills. Well, tell us what the skills they need, and help us groom those skills and express, and embed those skills to them. So these are the feedback that we were, I think, mostly getting from the people that have been through the prototype so far, and will still, come through. There's more coming on next week, so still lots of opportunities to get involved. And one of the last feedback I'm going to go through before I handle it to Demika is the fact that we want the students to get their a portfolio following them, which is not only full of grades and full of like, posters or concrete products, but also like all those skills they're learning, like all those experience they're having, and we're putting all this in like a digital portfolio that they can, it's part of their CV, right, part of their resume, and they can show like, this is what I've done, this is how involved I've been in my community, and hopefully they can showcase that and bring it when they get to the next step. So I think that's kind of like, we've been running like 4 of those days of prototyping, and there's going to be more feedback coming up, but that's kind of like a little bit of what we had with the STEM group, when we were meeting with the community, and I'm going to pass it on to Demika. You're muted, Demika.
Some questions that we're going to answer, that we're going to look to trying to dig into in the future, but we also know that we're going to look at having partners engage with the students at an earlier age. We can't just start this at the senior school. We need to also dial it back a little bit We need to ignite these students' experience so that they can definitely follow whichever career path or career choice they are looking towards. So we're going to have to plan something also for the students before they get to senior school. Another thing we're going to work on, we're going to develop a 3E framework, and that framework will be evolved around exposure, exploration, as well as experience. And we know that we need to start this possibly at the inception, at the beginning of their public school education. So that's something that we're going to work on in the new year. Currently, we are looking at the signature senior schools, but we know there are some items that we will have to roll all the way back. So that will come after this first year. We also want to ensure how we manage the community partners opportunities and how we make them available and match them to the actual students' interests. So that's a big piece for us to make sure that the right partner is actually matched with the right student. That's going to take us some time to look into, and we're going to try to work that out going forward. Our last thing that we're going to continue to work on going forward is the accountability of the actual partner, the accountability of the school, as well as the accountability of the student. We need to ensure that all of these are definitely meshed together so that the experience is worthwhile to all three involved. And that's our current feedback for now. Any other questions?
Thanks, Damika.
You're welcome.
So Beth and Damika and Alex have talked about one of the features that we've been testing out this week, building really effective partnerships with business industry and the community. But the prototyping week so far, and what we'll keep testing out, has really focused on a whole range of features, the pieces that we know need to be in place in order to operationalize signature learning programs. So before we open it up for questions, I'm just going to give a quick overview of those features so you can get a sense of them as well. We've been focusing on timetabling and scheduling. Sounds really dry and really technical, but if we can't work out how to optimize learning experiences off campus, how we might elevate the role of students in and their agency in building personalized course schedules, we know that we might have missed a trick. So we've been focusing on that. We've been thinking about how to create individualized or personalized assessments. Young people will not move at the same pace through our signature learning programs. So how do we make sure that we're both recognizing and micro-credentialing and ultimately credentialing young people and their learning? How do we make reliable judgments? How do young people have some self-advocacy on this? We're trying to work out how to structure advisory. It's such an important part of developing a holistic young person, and it's an amazing opportunity that exists at both senior schools now. How might we redesign that or augment that now that we will have signature learning programs? Who are the adults that need to be involved in advisory now that learning is going to be more connected to the real world, more connected to further study, further career, and further life aspirations? A big one that we've learned a lot about throughout COVID, but we still know we've got lots to learn, is how does technology enable learning? If we want to move to project-based learning as a dominant pedagogy across the system, how do we do that in a tech-enabled environment where, what we're really clear on is learning is a deeply human endeavour? How do we use technology in really powerful ways? How do we communicate about signature learning programs to the public? Young people and parents are going to be making choices about their schools based on the signature learning programs. What's the kind of messaging that we really need to be clear on? Who's best placed to communicate that? And how do we make sure that parents in the community understand the holistic nature, the fact that we're looking to educate the head, the heart, the hands of every young person across Bermuda? And one that we get asked about a lot has been a major focus this week also. How do we retrain or retool or upskill our teachers? We're very, very clear that they're the biggest asset that we have to education in Bermuda. So how do we make sure that they feel both confident and are competent to deliver what are fundamentally different types of learning, different learning experiences for young people? How might we diversify the roles of who's involved in learning? Beth said it earlier, education is everyone's business. So how do we work out which adults should be involved in the learning process? And how do we continue to grow and develop our teachers? And of course, we've been thinking about the curriculum itself, or the learning experience itself. How do we configure those? What micro-credentials? How, based on the commitment that the minister has previously made, how do we embed entrepreneurship? How do we bake that into every signature learning program? So that's what we've been up to, and we will throw back to you, Minister.
And thank you, Karen. I was having some issues with my headphones. I'm trying to fix it. Can everyone hear me clearly? All right. So what we typically do now is open up for questions. But before we go there, I just wanted to thank each and every one of you for coming on tonight and giving your piece and giving and giving your piece of how we're pulling this thing together. And so just want to move on to some Q&A and just reach out to Alicia, who is monitoring the chat, to see if are there any questions that have come in thus far. But while we're waiting for that, one of the challenges that I have been, and I only received this week, is someone called me and said, you guys are collaborating too much. You're spending too much time talking to people. You're involving too many people. Just make the decision. Aren't you the experts? Just let us go. And just go ahead and do what you want. So what do you think about persons who have that attitude towards how we're moving forward with that?
Well, I would say part of the reason why I'm involved in the signature learning program with the Learning First was because, I wanted to be able to give teachers a voice. Oftentimes, there are policies and procedures that are made where teachers they do not have that opportunity to be involved. And so, if I was going to get selected, or as I did, then I wanted to be able to provide that voice. The other thing that I would say to those people who had that comment to you is that the more that you become involved, then you will be able to help to create the change that you want to see in the education system. There have been a lot of changes in the education system. And moving forward, we have to decide what we're going to keep and what we're going to pitch out, right?
Yep.
So the innovation team, they have helped us to understand, what it takes to make that change actually stick. So they've come up with a shared and understood case of change, the pressures, the reasons why change is necessary, and what are those potential benefits. There's a clear articulated vision that's been co-developed. And when they say co-developed, this involves people from the community, teachers, students, grandparents, aunties, uncles. If you wanted to become involved, there has been that opportunity for you to be able to do that. There is a clear action plan, and there's capacity and capability to be able to implement those changes within the system. We've had a high level of support from the innovation team. And, some people might say, well, why aren't we just taking what we know already works in other schools or other countries around the world? And of course, you have to do your research, and that's what has been taking place over the past year. We've been researching the schools to see what works, what doesn't work. We also have to pay attention to what public knowledge that already exist. And then we have to take those and we have to combine it with what we know here in Bermuda, what we know about our Bermudian children and how they function. And then we have to put all of those together so that we can ensure that in the end that we're getting new knowledge, and that knowledge is going to be globally and locally relevant to the education system.
Thank you, Beth. A saying comes to mind that someone told me. I thought it was quite I thought it was quite funny, but sometimes I get in trouble for repeating some of the things that I think is funny. Where it's that getting up, getting involved, 100% more effective than complaining on social media. And so we
Yeah.
want people to get involved. We really do want people to get involved and understand that you can bring whatever it is that you bring, because that's what we want. we want
Yes.
we want the everyday person. We want the person who's been in education for 30 years. We want the student. We want the parent, who's got a child in preschool, in primary school, in middle school, in high school, because they are the ones that we're serving, and they are the ones that we want to build the system for. And we cannot know what their requirements are unless they come and tell us and have
Yeah.
open dialogue. They're not,
Exactly.
what we find is we're not going to do everything that they're not going to get everything that they want or believe they want. We're not going to get everything that we want or believe we want, but together we're going to come up with a system that is right sized for what Bermuda needs to move forward. And so that's why, I'd say to that person who sent that to me is we'll have outliers. We'll have people who say we consult too much. We have people who say that we don't consult enough. But it's up to us to continuously move forward and try and bring those people who I consider outliers into the fold of the majority, which are there doing the work and helping us move forward. So thank you for articulating that as well as you did, that. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Alicia, how are we looking for time?
We're good on time. I
Okay,
didn't
good.
see any questions in the comments.
Okay. Well, this question is for the good doctor, who hopefully will be working with my daughter at some point in the future at the aquarium. Alex, when we were doing introductions earlier, we skipped over the fact that you are from the Bermuda, the Bermuda Aquarium. I get asked a fair bit of makeup about the school transformation teams. Can you describe that for us, and what is unique about it?
So the makeup of the team, the more diversity and different voices that you can get, the best it is. And when you say, we need to, like you guys were referring to, we need to collaborate, and we need to get to consult and to have different heads together. When you discuss and start bouncing ideas, you realize how rich the community is and how much expertise there is out there. So by mixing up teachers and administrative and community partners, that's when you really get like a good mix going and a good feel of like how it can be. Because sometimes, when you teach, you like standardized test, and like this is what the kids have to get into their heads, and you're like really stressed on that. And then sometimes you don't think about what's outside, for the students. So when you get like our involvement, for us is like really showing and bringing what the partners can bring, and how we can enrich what's happening in the schools. So I think that's that collaboration that's really going to happen, and allowing as many voices to be heard. And there are teachers from primary level who are involved. There are teachers and leaders from middle school who are involved. So it's really like trying to like encompass the whole thing. And over the time, there's been different people and different teams. This has not started 2 months ago. It started like several months ago, with different teams that are coming in and out and bringing out their expertise. So it's an ongoing process. And I think like the makeup, it might not be clear how the makeup of the teams is done, because the teams are constantly evolving. There's like people coming in and out and bringing. So it's a call for like, if you want to be involved, if you think that's important, as you said, don't complain about it. Just get up and come. The door is open. So I think it's really, if we want to invest, and we know there've been issues with the system, and we know that when we see the students coming at the aquarium, you're like, oh gosh, like field skills, math skills, graphing skills, whatever that is missing. It's like, how can we step in, and how can we bring them up and make sure they are it's part of it. So I think the makeup of a team is as diverse and sometimes improbable as possible. Why, who, there, who are you? And then no, everybody is very important in that little piece of the puzzle. So very excited to be part of that team, and very excited to bring the Zoological Society and the aquarium, part of it, and hopefully those partners relationship will be long-term ones. So that would
You
be
know,
my
and for those of you that do not know, the Aquarium has a very extensive educational program that is tied very tightly to the current curriculum. As a matter of fact, their workbooks are the workbooks that they use for when they have students in are tied very tightly to the current curriculum that we have within our school. So it is an exciting opportunity for all of our schools, public and private, because the courses done at the Aquarium are free, and they have a bus, and that can be used to come and pick up the class and take them there. And so when we get out of some of the COVID restrictions we have, hopefully we'll see we will be able to get back to doing some of that good stuff for our people.
Is that a call? Is that a call for you guys to allow the schools to come back out of their classrooms? I mean, it can be done safely, and then we've started working with some schools taking the steps. So yeah, please.
Okay. One question else. Another question I have here is: do we have an idea of how many Bermudians are actually involved in the transformation that we've been doing over the last few months?
So I think over time, it's like we're over 1,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's already been giving feedback, because I don't know if the community remembers, but there was an ask on which signature do you want to see happening, and the community was open to that, and it was in addition to the teams that had already been working behind the scenes, so you have so there's already been a call to the community, and in addition to over 100 people in the transformation teams that have been coming and going, and additional. So I would say over 1,000 people so far.
That's good stuff, but thank you for that. Beth, what perceived or actual barriers you might anticipate for the signature learning programs, and how might we as a community resolve
them? Well, one of the, I guess, barriers that we've seen is, throughout the last few months, is that people don't like change. Let's face it. Everyone's going to have their comments and their thoughts about what they think should happen. And so again, my cry to them would be to get involved. Don't just make your comment, but get involved, and you can make your comment, but you can come up with a solution or be a part of the solution, so that there might be a part of it that a suggestion that they make that you take. So there is a need to change the perception from community in terms of what the purpose of the and it's difficult because we're teaching students now skills and things that are going to be available for jobs that don't even exist. And so we have to convince the public that we need to have both the foundation as well as core knowledge for those 21st century skills. And it's hard to learn and practice those if you don't have those initially. And then one of the other barriers is making sure that those community partners, that they are deeply involved in the signature learning program. And so that goes beyond providing a career fair, coming and setting up your table and showing your flyers and say, oh, we have this job, we have that job. It goes beyond taking a student or two for a day release. We want community partners that are intricately involved with our signature learning programs to be making those solid, long commitments for our students, so that in the end, that we'll have students that will maximize their learning potential through the signature learning program.
Thank you for that, Beth. Ms. Dublin, and how are you doing? How are you feeling tonight?
I'm doing good and feeling good.
Well, let me ask you this, right? What do the people you work with on this get excited by?
Well, I work with a great team. And when I mean we are great, we are bringing greatness to Bermuda. I must say that we're excited because other than us being educators, the one thing all of us have in common is that we care deeply for the students of Bermuda and we want to give them the very best. I haven't met not one person that does not care about the well being of Bermuda students. And when I say well being, the holistic overall well being. We want to educate them as best as possible. So we're bringing all the energy and enthusiasm that we have to this transformation.
You're on mute.
Thank you for that, Ms.
What's on
Dublin.
you? Thank you.
Now, I'm sorry. Again, something's going wrong with my headphone.
Can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Something was going wrong, so I do apologize for that, Bermuda. Thank you guys for coming on. It's really been enlightening for me. I learn something every time I have one of these sessions, even though I have countless reams of paper to read. It's the one thing of reading the paper. It's another thing of seeing to seeing. It's another thing of actually seeing it in action. And I had an opportunity to see it in action this week. I'm actually even more excited about next week. Next week, we have the students. We have M3 students coming to, with their teachers, will be coming and we'll be doing prototyping with them. And they'll have an opportunity to give their opinions, which is critically important because we're building this system for them. They will be the ones that will benefit from it in September 2022 when they go from from their M3 classes into S1. And so as we've said today, we want to continue for people to sign up for feedback, even if you sign up just to receive the newsletter so you're aware of what's going on. There's opportunities for you to, who knows, you may read the newsletter and say, wait a minute, my company can assist with this, or my company can do this, or I know of someone who really can give some input on this. That's the type of thing we want to job. That's the type of stuff we want you to actually come and do. And so you can email the team at schooldesign@moed.bm, and everyone gets responded to, and everyone will be given instructions on what they can do to assist if you want. But you can also visit the website at www.learningfirstbda.com, and that will have a wealth of information of what Learning First is about, what they've been doing, what they're up to, and on that website you can sign up for the newsletter and get various bits and pieces that comes out on a regular basis from Learning First. And so you can also follow us on our socials. Learning First and the Ministry of Education are located on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And so you can easily follow us. We're constantly posting stuff. So we're doing all that we can to reach all of the genres in Bermuda, the young, the old, even the in-betweens. And so, so when I see everything that we're doing, this is what gets me excited. What gets me excited is to see someone like Beth, who's talking about, yes, I'm an educator and I'm a part of what it is that we are developing. So I know that I've given my input. I get excited when I see the students. The students talk about, something. I see it. I see where we're going. I see how we're going to get there. I get excited when the parents say, you guys, I'm listening. I'm paying attention. I may not be interacting with it, but I hear it. And I like what I hear and I like what I see, that we're moving forward with education. So we're hitting on all of the cylinders, but we can always have more to join us. So please, if you have an opportunity, visit the website, sign up, send us an email, come on programs like this. We're here every 2 weeks to answer your questions and give you updates on what we're doing. And, together, Bermuda, we will build an education system that instead of us saying, why aren't we doing what they're doing over there? People will be saying, hey, why aren't we doing what Bermuda's doing? And that is where we're going to be, to create a system that is equitable and fair from top to bottom for all of our students. And so with that, I just want to invite the panelists to have one final word. And then Alicia, you can sign us off. And we'll start with Ms. Dublin.
My final word is that I'm glad that I was invited to be part of this team. And I can't wait to launch this new transformation system.
Thank you, Ms. Dublin. Ms. Hoda?
And I would say, if you haven't become involved yet, then it's still not too late. So sign up for some of the prototype sessions in any way, whether you're a business partner, a student, a teacher, because the more ideas that we have, the more change that will occur, and it's going to shape the future for our students.
Thank you, Ms. Oda. Dr. Alex?
I'm going to be, I don't know, that little wake-up call there. We're going to raise the bar. So it's not going to be all easy for the students, right? It's not all like, oh gosh, like we are going to make sure that these guys have what they need to be successful. So it's going to be fun, but it's also going to involve hard work. And we're going to make sure that, it's also, coming across, because education is very important, and it's and hopefully we will be able to have them understand that take their own learning into their own hands. And it's super exciting because it's really going to be student centered and with everybody together, and it's going to be awesome. So it's very, very exciting, and it's going to work.
Thank you. And Karen?
Thanks, Minister. I really just want to thank the members of the school transformation teams. Obviously, we have 3 of them here today, but they have 62 fellow transformers that have done an absolutely amazing job this week in engaging the public and community in what the new signature learning programs will look like, will sound like, will feel like, and they should be very proud of themselves. And as their minister, you should be rightly proud of them too, Minister.
And right I am. Everyone, thank you again from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for taking your time out to join us tonight. Bermuda, thank you for taking your time out to come and listen. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Alicia?
Yes, thank you to everyone that's joined us. And as a parent of littles that are going to be in the midst of all of this, I am very excited. Everyone is passionate. You can see, you can feel it. And I'm really excited for my children to go through this. It's a change that Bermuda has been asking for years. So now that it's here, I hope that Bermudians continue to get involved and feel welcomed to participate in every step of the way. So we encourage everyone to remain connected. We have both, Education Connection. We also do a radio episode, which is Education Matters. So that's on Magic 102.7. So both of these are on bi-weekly basis on opposing weeks. So every week there is updates going out, and there is a chance to connect with education in Bermuda. The next episode of Education Matters on the radio will be Monday at 5:45. So that's on Magic 102.7. We're looking to have some members join us then, and then, public can call in with questions. So we didn't get too many questions tonight, but if you go home and have a think on it, the opportunity would be next Monday. And then the next episode of Education Connection is going to be on Thursday, December 2nd. And on there, we hope to have some students and community members and team members to share more firsthand experiences with us. It's so priceless to hear from people that are on the ground and doing the work. So until then, Bermuda, stay safe, and thanks again for tuning in.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.